The Unsinkable Baker, Charles Joughin's Miraculous Survival. April 14, 1912. The RMS Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ship ever built. It was sailing smoothly through the freezing waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The world believed it was completely unsinkable. That night, at exactly 11:40 p.m., everything changed. An iceberg tore through the ship's hull. Within hours, more than 1,500 people would lose their lives in the icy darkness. Among all that tragedy, one man's story defied logic, science, and every known rule of survival. His name was Charles Joughin. He was a simple baker. Charles Joughin was 33 years old when he boarded the Titanic. He was not a wealthy first-class passenger. He was not a famous figure. He was not a high-ranking officer. He was the ship's chief baker. He was responsible for feeding thousands of passengers and crew members every single day. His bakery team worked around the clock. They produced fresh bread, pastries, and desserts for people traveling in unimaginable luxury. Joughin was a tough, practical working-class man from England. He had spent years at sea and knew the ocean well. On the night of the disaster, the Titanic was cutting quietly through the calm, dark water. Joughin was likely finishing his work below deck. He was completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. At 11:40 p.m., the ship suddenly shuddered. Most passengers barely noticed. It felt like a small, harmless bump. Deep below the waterline, the iceberg had already ripped open the ship's side. Water began rushing in. The fate of the so-called unsinkable ship was sealed. As the seriousness of the situation became clear, Charles Joughin was given orders. He was told to gather his baking staff. He was told to bring bread and provisions up to the lifeboats. He was told to help load women and children first. He carried out these duties calmly and efficiently. At the same time, he realized something terrifying. There were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. As the ship began to tilt, panic spread across the decks. Joughin did something unusual. He went to his cabin and drank whiskey. He did not stop at one drink. He drank several times. He then returned to his duties. He moved steadily through the chaos. People were screaming and crying. The band continued playing to calm the crowd. Officers fired warning shots to maintain order. Between tasks, Joughin continued drinking. He never stopped helping others. By around 1:20 a.m., most of the lifeboats were gone. Joughin knew what was coming. He began throwing deck chairs into the ocean. He hoped they could be used as flotation devices. The bow sank deeper into the water. The stern rose higher into the night sky. At approximately 2:10 a.m., just 10 minutes before the Titanic would vanish forever, Joughin returned to his cabin one last time. He took another drink. People were slipping and falling. Many were jumping into the freezing black water below. The noise was overwhelming. Joughin did not panic. He made his way to the very back of the ship. He held onto the stern rail. He waited. At 2:20 a.m., the Titanic broke apart. The stern briefly settled. It then rose almost straight up into the air like a towering building. Hundreds of people were sent screaming into the ocean. Charles Joughin simply stepped off the railing. He entered the water as casually as stepping off a curb. He later said he did not even get his head wet. He felt as though he rode the ship down like an elevator into the Atlantic. The water temperature was 28 degrees Fahrenheit. It was below freezing. In such conditions, most people die within minutes. Cold, shock, heart failure, and hypothermia kill very quickly. Charles Joughin remained alive in those waters for nearly 2 hours. The whiskey he had consumed likely kept his blood vessels dilated. His circulation continued longer than normal. He also kept himself moving. He treaded water. He held onto floating debris. One of those objects was a deck chair he had thrown overboard earlier. The screams slowly faded into silence. Joughin noticed an overturned collapsible lifeboat known as Boat B. About 30 men were balancing on top of it. Joughin could not climb aboard. If he did, the boat would capsize. He held onto the side of the boat instead. He stayed there for another hour. He occasionally spoke with a friend above him. His body remained submerged in the freezing water. As dawn approached around 4 a.m., the rescue ship Carpathia finally arrived. Survivors were pulled from the sea. When Charles Joughin was rescued, people expected him to be near death. Instead, he was remarkably fine. His feet were swollen. His toes were slightly He showed no severe hypothermia. He required no serious medical treatment. He continued working as a baker for many years. He survived World War I. He eventually settled in New Jersey. He lived quietly until his death in 1956. He was 78 years old. He outlived the Titanic by 44 years. To this day, scientists still debate how he survived. Some believe it was the whiskey. Others point to physical endurance, mental strength, or pure luck. It was likely a combination of all of them. One thing remains certain. The Unsinkable Baker outlived the unsinkable ship, and that is a story worth remembering.